Now you might be wondering, what's Clarky reviewing today? Is it a caravan? Is it a shed? Is it a conservatory? No, we will be doing a conservatory, and trust me, it is not going to go well. Now we're going to have a look at something that I keep in the shed. Come on, let's go and have a look. Well, this is the shed, and as with most sheds, those people who've got one will know it's full of stuff. I don't know where all this stuff comes from, but it seems to gather all on its own. You know, exercise machine, which clearly I haven't been using as much as I should do. Anyway, back to the review. You obviously were given a clue at the beginning in the title. No, we're not looking at caravans and sheds. We're looking at gas burners. And we're talking camping gas burners here. And I'd like to start with the box, but I've had this a year, so I've had plenty of time to use it and form an opinion. So I thought, well, we can't start with the box, but yes we can, because we're sort of in a box. It's a big wooden box, so let's have a look. So here we are, Cadac 2. And the reason I've started in the shed is I just thought it might be of interest to see where I store it. And the temperatures in here go down to about -10 and up to +50 when it's really hot. So it's been exposed in storage to quite a lot of temperatures. We're not going to talk about it in the shed. What we're going to do is we're going to take it out onto the road, a little bit of camping. I say camping, I use that term loosely because we're taking the caravan. And we'll have a look at it and see what my opinion is after 12 months of use. Well, there we are. We've arrived at our campsite. So let's get cooking. So here's what comes out of the box. This is the Cadac 2 Cook 2 Pro Deluxe QR. I know it's a mouthful. They do have a newer model, the 2 Cook 3. I'll mention that later, but obviously it's a relatively new model, so I haven't had time to evaluate for any length of time. This I've had for over a year, so I've got a good idea of what I'm dealing with. So it comes with this nice little carrier bag with a, as you saw, with a shoulder strap, zip compartment. But initially you've got this top compartment here, and what we've got in here is we've got a little instruction book. Put that down there for the minute. And there's two options for grilling on. One is the sort of thing that I'll be using later to do a little bit of steak on, so it's the ribbed grill. We'll pop that over there. I've managed to keep this bubble wrap and pack them away in that every time I've used it, which has surprised me because I thought it would have fallen apart by now. And the other griddle pan, which is quite tricky to get out because the legs catch on the bubble wrap, but a little bit of patience and care, get it out in one piece. And that's just a plain flat one, which, as you'll see later, is ideal for doing eggs on. So let's open the bag up further, and I'm going to lift out the 2+2 cook. Try not to get tangled up in that. We'll throw that over there, shall we, out of the way. I know what's going to happen. My wife's going to walk out the caravan in a minute and trip over it. So the title, the 2 Cook 2 Pro. Now there's various models of this, but the important thing that I was looking for is the little bit in the title which says QR. Now this stands for quick release, and this item here is where you connect your gas hose. Now you could just have a fixed one with the hose screwed onto it as a permanent fixture, but that's a little bit inconvenient. What this enables you to do is, as it says, quick release, and we'll have a look at that in a minute when we connect it up. It comes with two controls, one ignition switch there, and inside, again, nicely packed away in the bubble wrap. We'll take that off there. Here we go, take this one off. It's a bit of a faff, but yeah, just put that down there. So this acts as a windbreak, so depending on which way the wind's coming from you can turn it around to wherever you want. And what you do, decide on what you want to cook. If you're going to put a pan on, as you'll see, I've got a frying pan when I was cooking some mushrooms. You can remove these, have one, have two, just have one, put on whichever item is most suitable for whatever you're cooking. Now, going back to the newer model, what you'll find is that the newer model comes with a small windbreak. You'll be able to see from this picture I've put up here, a small windbreak each side, and you've got separate ignition switches. So I'm not sure what the advantage of that is, but one of the things that is useful is it comes, as you can see on the picture, with a small hot plate which you can put a small camping kettle on, whereas these are okay to put a kettle on, but you'd have to have a reasonably broad one. If you've got a small, like coffee type, oh, my phone's ringing. One moment. Go over. Right, we're back. Now, if I was a real professional, I'd start everything again. But I'm not, so I aren't going to. We'll leave the interrupted phone call in. So far, everything looks good. It looks nice and clean. It's a year old, but there is just one little thing, and I'm not sure what's caused it. So if you come in a bit closer, take a look at the rings here. The one on the left is relatively clean. The one on the right has got quite a little bit of erosion. Do you know something? Either I've got to go out on the road and stop the traffic, or maybe I should start again. Not to worry. As I was saying, corrosion. Now when I use the word corrosion, I'm probably being a bit unfair to the product, because when I've had the grill on like this, I've had this one at the other side, and I've been cooking on here, but without realising that the fat is spitting onto this area here. I've washed this nicely, but forgot to clean this little bit out afterwards. So although it does look a little bit like corrosion, I think what it is it's dried fat that's got settled on there, so that's my mistake. So all I've got to do now is get it set up and start cooking. Okay, cooking I said, but before we can do any cooking, you might have wondered why this table's so small. The reason being is it's an adjustable table, and it's quite a cheap and nasty adjustable table, and I had the option to buy one for twice as much, and I wish I'd taken that option instead of trying to save money, because this one is a pain, and if I was going to do a review on this, which I'm not at the minute, it wouldn't be brilliant. It wouldn't be bad, but it wouldn't be brilliant. So the reason I needed to get an adjustable table was because when using the grill, the problem is if it's not level, if you put some oil on, it runs into one corner. If your whatever you're cooking starts to juice into the bottom, I'm going to go out on that road, I'm going to kill that tractor driver. There hasn't been one tractor go past here for the last 2-3 hours, and as soon as I start waffling to you, here he comes. I'm sure he's hiding around the corner waiting. Right, let's carry on. So I found when I first used it, I'm trying to cook stuff with a little layer of oil and I've got this pool in the bottom, and then when I was cooking something that was dropping a lot of oil out of it, it was running down to the edge of the hot plate and running over. So I should say that as far as the oil running out, it's mainly on the other flat plate. On the griddle here, you can see in the corners you've got indentations where oil can actually collect, so you don't tend to get the problem with this particular one. But with the flat plate, and of course if the oil's all in one corner and you are using oil, it's not much good for cooking if it's all pulled in one corner. So had to buy a table, and the idea is for the table to be level. I've got one of these, look. It's technical, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing with it. Anyway. So if I go like that and like that, it appears that this leg's too long. So I'm going to get on with levelling this, and then I'm going to come back to you and we'll stick the grill on and we'll see how we go on with that. Okay, it's level, sort of. So now we have to connect the gas. Now, you might think, why am I messing around with this when I've got a perfectly good cooker and grill and everything in the caravan? Well, I like a fry up. Here, have a look at this fry up. Yeah, that's what I like for breakfast. But as soon as you start doing that sort of stuff in the caravan, it's spitting fat everywhere. And I like to keep the caravan sort of as pristine as possible and not smelling of old fat. And as I pointed out earlier, I hadn't realised the little drops that's dropped onto this other burner. So for any frying that involves spitting fat, I prefer to do it outside, which is why I've got this. I'm going to take these off because tonight we're going to be using the griddle and the other hot plate. So we'll stick them in the back of the car, which is just there. Now I'm going to connect the gas up. Now the thing I like about this is you can connect it to a gas bottle, which I am going to, but via the caravan. You could have a small independent gas bottle. As I said, you could have the permanent fixture on here, but I like to go for the QR model, and you'll see why. So all I've got to do is click that in there, it's connected, and then push that in there, turn the gas on. I tell you what, I've got to start coming and camping on farms when I do these videos. So the gas is on, simple, 10-second job. Now all we've got to do is get the griddles on and get cooking. Now one of the problems I've found is that when you come to start it up, you can't really see the flame when you're outside. Unlike a conventional burner, if you're in on the gas cooker inside, you'd be able to see how high the flame is. So initially I'm going to take those off, and if I press this button and turn this knob, push in, turn to just below full, and hold it there till hopefully some gas comes through. Now I'm going to show you that again close up. So what you saw there, when I pressed it and turned on, you saw a little moment of flame, and then, all intent and purposes, you can stare at it and there doesn't appear to be any flame whatsoever. Then you start waving your hands about and going, oh yeah, that's hot. So you're really dependent on what's happening on the grill, on the griddle or the plate, and what temperature you've got it set at. I'm so used to looking at the flame on our gas cooker at home. I'm looking at this and I can't see any flame whatsoever. So it's a bit of guesswork. But once you've cooked a few things on it, you'll get to know roughly what setting you need for each one. So we'll get some meat on and we'll give it a go. Well, here we go. We got some veal burgers, we got some steak, and I'm just doing the mushrooms on the hot plate here. We've got some pepper sauce and one or two other items in there, ready to go with it. The other two things that you're going to need some tongs. Now Muppet here, has gone and left the tongs that with the silicone ends on, or whatever they are on here, at home, and I'm having to use the ones I normally use on a barbecue, a normal charcoal barbecue. So I've got to be really careful that I don't scratch the non-stick surface with them, which could happen, bearing in mind I'm also going to point out my other essential cooking aid, glass of Coke. Yeah, okay, a glass of Coke with a drop of Bacardi in it. Well, the wheel was very nice, and we've just got the cleaning up to do. So, to simplify things, what I'm going to do, because we'll be home within the next 24 hours, I'm going to take the grills off, the grill plates, and I'm going to take them home to clean them, because it's much easier than doing it out here. We're staying on a site with no facilities, so we've only got the sink in the caravan, and I'd rather not get that greased up. So I'm going to pop them back in the car, but I'm going to close this up, but I'm going to give this a nice white over in the morning. I've disconnected the hose at the other end, the gas end, so it's just a case of ping, off it comes. And what shall we do? Let's pop these back on here. To be honest, it's pretty clean. I can't feel any grease anywhere, but I am going to wipe it in the morning. And clip that up there. And all in all, it's a really nice piece of equipment. Simple, easy to use, easy to clean. Just them couple of points I mentioned that you need to think about. And I would recommend this to anybody who wants a portable grill. It's called Cadac. They're a South African company based in Johannesburg, but they were bought out and they're now a subsidiary of Domitec, which is a Swedish company. So I think that they do have a reputation for some reasonably good stuff, and after 12 months I've probably used it 8 times and I'm happy with it. So yeah, Cadac 2 Plus 2 Cook Pro QR, yeah, takes a lot to remember that. But if I was going to buy the new one, I might think about getting the later one. But to be honest, from a practical side, I don't think there's that much difference. I can't imagine the little wind deflectors, about this big, is going to make that much difference if it was breezy. So, prices. You can find these on the internet from anything from £100 to £160, maybe £165 for the new model. So I actually bought this from a caravan centre, and I've probably paid about, I think it was just under £10 more than it would have been if I bought it on Amazon. But with stuff like any stuff, I prefer to buy it from somewhere where I can actually walk in, pick it up, feel it, have a look at it, and if I don't like it, it's easier for me to take it back and swap it than having to bother packaging it all up and sending it off back via the mail. So yeah, £100 to £160 depending on which model you get, and you got yourself a decent grill.